Cecil Hurt of the Tuscaloosa News and TideSports.com. Speaking of Louisiana, Cecil's Twitter tells me he is in the Crescent City as we speak. And as I said in the opening segment, Cecil, I may be more interested in what you're going to have for lunch today down there than I am even sort of previewing this basketball game tonight. So go ahead, give us an idea of what's coming up.
We'll see what happens. Let's keep your eye on the Twitter account. That's what I
Cecil going to tease us for lunch. Come on, Cecil. It's got to be a po' boy. It's got to be a po' boy or something along those lines for lunch.
I mean, a friend of mine who lives here, he's making the choice. So
there you go. That's smart.
We'll see how
that's smart. When you do something like New Orleans, you always go with the local, right? You just kind of go along in that situation.
Absolutely, because it's like San Francisco. You go to Chinatown, you got to have somebody to tell you which one to go to.
Absolutely.
Not that there aren't plenty of familiar, very good places in New Orleans that got tweeted 19,000 times when the sports writers were all here for the championship game.
Right.
But I'm a little more off the track.
Yeah. You like to get off bourbon, don't you? Get out of the quarter.
Yeah, I'm not going to get down in the French Quarter usually.
Yeah.
Usually.
Good move there.
I don't think that if I do send out a lunch tweet, it will not be from the Hooters on Jackson Square.
It won't be from Bubba Gump.
Nothing against.
It won't be from Bubba Gump.
No, it won't be the Bubba Gump. That's a good example. That's a better example, probably. No, it won't be Bubba Gump.
Oh, just stay away from that mechanical bull there at the Bourbon Cowboy, all right? You'll be all right, you got to watch out for that.
I spoke in Mobile last night and drove over, so I could have whipped right down to Bayou La Battery and gotten the real thing. But
yes, you could have. Yes, you could have. Speaking of the real thing, like them or not, whatever you want to say about Will Wade, the LSU Tigers at 6-0 in conference play, and that's coming off a pretty wild night last night in the SEC. It was a comeback Tuesday night in the league. You had three teams come back from deficits of at least 16 points, Cecil, last night.
There were 5 games nationally with 15-point or more on a Tuesday now, not a Saturday. On a Tuesday, 5 games with 15 comebacks of 15 points or more, and 3 of them were in the SEC.
Crazy.
Including a
double
20.
overtime in Oxford. Yeah.
Yeah, double overtime in Oxford. Mississippi State, who, like LSU, is really playing well. And they're both capable. Of course, LSU didn't play last night, but they're capable of making comeback because they hit the offensive glass. They're going to make a trip. If they miss a shot, that doesn't mean the possession's over. And State's just eating people up on the backboards right now.
Reggie Perry, for that team, if Mississippi State does not make the NCAA tournament with Reggie Perry this year, that's almost got to be a fireable offense, doesn't it, for Ben Howland?
He's got a good group. Ben's a good coach. They struggled. And Nick Weatherspoon was out in the early part of their season, and their guard play is not the strength of their team. It's their inside game. They had a couple of losses. They played a game in Jackson against New Mexico State and just didn't play very well at all. Didn't play especially well in Tuscaloosa, although Alabama played very well. But they've got it going now. So they're in that mix. That probably 7-team mix. Tennessee would be the 8th one.
Did that surprise you last night? Did that surprise you?
A little bit. Buzz is a good coach, but it surprised me a little bit. And they've got to they're making the old paired SEC travel road swing Saturday in Starkville, Tuesday in Tuscaloosa.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're in a stretch now where they didn't need to drop a home game.
Do you think Buzz Williams went to Texas A&M, Cecil, thinking, look, right across the state at Texas Tech, there's a guy in Chris Beard who's building a borderline elite program at this point. We'll see if he can sustain it, but certainly a Final Four team last year. Do you think Buzz Williams sort of viewed A&M as that type of potential when you look at what Beard has done at Tech.
Been at A&M before, as an assistant, and so he knew what was there. He knows the financial resources that you have, and I've got to think, although it's football country, I get that, but there are a good many players in that Houston, Dallas metroplex that College Station's kind of plopped in there in the middle of. So I think he knew, and this isn't a knock on anybody, but I think he knew the potential there in the SEC, given their demographic, was going to work better for him than Blacksburg, Virginia.
And Shaka's not exactly locking it down right now in Austin.
He's not. As always, you got an SEC Big 12 challenge. Just let them play. I hope next year that we see Texas A&M, and Missouri, Kansas in the challenge.
I mean, exactly. I mean, all the stuff, I guess you could call it, aside, if you're going to have a Big 12 SEC challenge, how can you not have those games?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Let Arkansas play TCU, their old Southwest Conference buddy. But yeah, if you're going to have a challenge, that way, the ADs can kind of wash their hands and say, well, it wasn't us. We didn't do it. It's not our fault.
Kind of like that Alabama UAB NIT matchup.
And yet everybody still gets the game, which is what everybody wants.
Yeah. Yeah. We got Alabama UAB that way with the NIT years ago.
Yeah.
Here in Tuscaloosa.
And these are Power 5 rivalries,
Mm-hmm.
and for a long time Kentucky didn't play Louisville, and we got that in the NCAA tournament. Of course, Kentucky fans thought it was the worst conspiracy ever that they had to play Louisville, but it's ended up okay. So hopefully we'll see some of that, and the challenge is a good opportunity, and so at least one of those, at least Missouri, Kansas, or Texas A&M next year.
Speaking of Texas, the Longhorns got bitten by that close game bug that LSU seems to enjoy so much, and especially in road contests where the Tigers have been especially impressive over spanning the last two seasons with that 12-game SEC road win streak. But so what is it for Alabama tonight? Obviously, you would think you would love to be in that situation late, tight game, chance to win. But LSU seems to be built in a way, Cecil, in that while they can be a little bit wasteful with leads at times when they get that opportunity to close teams out, they do it in these close games.
They do. They've got veteran, tough, physical guards in Smart and Mays. They've got big, strong rebounding guys. Watford is a really good piece for them. His skill set really fits what they do. Of course, he had a big game at Texas. So they don't go very deep. They've got an injury. Manning's got an injury right now. They're 7 deep at most. Really core of 6 guys is basically what they're going with. And so they do a really good job of playing a physical style without fouling that much. Some of that, Alabama's got to up-tempo them a little bit. They're not the slowest team in the league, but they don't want to play it running up and down in the 90s. So now to do that, Alabama's got to rebound. They've got to get the ball off the glass on LSU's end and push it and run. And, try and make LSU play at Alabama's tempo. That's what it'll take. Got to make some shots, keep the turnovers manageable. Just can't, if the offensive rebounding is anything near what it was against Kansas State, this won't be a close game. LSU will dominate. If Alabama can make LSU play at Alabama's tempo and can get the ball off their defensive board, the LSU offensive end, and run with it, they'll have a chance to do that. So that's why Nate Oates was talking yesterday about, needing more from Galen Smith, needing more from Javion, not because those guys are going to score 25 points, but they got to get in there on the defensive glass and mix it up and not let LSU just dominate. And there's a worry about that. Alabama's played small more and more in the last 4 or 5 games. But can you afford to do that is the question.
With that in mind, does Herbert Jones see a lot of trend in Watford tonight?
Probably. Herbert could end up on anybody. He could end up on Skylar Mays. He could end up on anybody. But, he may be down there a little bit. That's not as – it's not a physical mismatch like Herb would face against, let's just say, a Reggie Perry, since you brought him up. On Austin Wiley, it's not that kind of post guy. So that's the main thing I think is Herb can hang with those guys, but he needs to do it too. Petty needs to rebound, and they need to play at a fast tempo, take care of the ball, and make a few shots along the way. They really, Alabama's on a 4-game winning streak where they really hadn't shot the ball like they're capable of shooting the ball. They've done, they've made some shots. They're going to make some shots with Petty and Kyra and so forth, but they hadn't had that 14 for 30 kind of day. So
shooting a lot of free throws, though, right? And that kind of goes back to what you said earlier about LSU seemingly doing a good job on the defensive end and not fouling. So that that could be a problem tonight too, because I think you hit on it with Alabama not being exceptionally efficient from beyond the arc. They continued to shoot free throws. Something I don't know. Maybe it's happened recently, but I don't recall Alabama at this deep into a season shooting more free throws on the season than say a Kentucky, Cecil, and that's what we've got right now in this Alabama team.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to watch because they don't. For instance, the old Kentucky teams that had a Kenny Walker or a Melvin Turpin down in the post where they'd throw it down there and they'd get a lot of fouls because they were throwing it inside. Alabama doesn't have that guy, but what they're doing is they get so much spacing on the floor because you've got to go out and defend them on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got Kyra, Herb, John, guys that can get to the rim and get fouled. And so it's all, even though it's not 3-pointers, it's all part of that offense, that 3-point offense that Nate Oates runs. If you decide, well, we're not going to let Kyra and Herb get to the rim and not going to let Kyra shoot the layups that he shot, Kansas State had to make that decision. And they came out and defended on the perimeter, and Alabama didn't shoot great 3-point percentage, but when Alabama had to have it and their defense, Kansas State's defense is that spread, Kyra could get to the rim.
Yeah.
2 huge situations in the last 6 minutes of that game, he's shooting layup. Alabama up 1, comes to the other end, and Kyra shoots a layup, puts them back up 3 both times. So, and that's not abandoning the offense. That is part of what that offense is designed to do. It's not quite. Although people really, I think, enjoy the tempo Alabama plays at, enjoy all the 3-point shots. Now, it's not just a Loyola Marymount. Get it across the timeline and swing it at the first opportunity. There are other intricacies in that offense. Now, at some point, and Alabama's got some good players. Don't get me wrong, but at some point, the goal, I'm sure, for Nate is to have 7 or 8 guys who can score in those situations, and then that's when you're going to start seeing them averaging, 95 points a game.
It's an approach, Cecil, on the surface that looks largely dependent upon improvising. But if you go watch an Alabama practice, which I know you've seen plenty of them, they practice this stuff. What you see in the game is stuff they work on situationally, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's designed, again, it's not designed where you just got to have 15 3-pointers. It's designed to make, like in football, like a run-pass option in football is designed to do.
Looking to get
force
numbers.
The defense to make a decision. What's the defense going to do? The traditional defense is to run back down the floor and everybody go to the rim, protect the rim, stop the ball, protect the rim. Well, that's when they're going to shoot open three. So teams have adjusted defensively, as they'll do. There's more tape out there on them, and people have seen what they're successful for. So everybody, or at least the last four teams, have really guarded them hard at the perimeter, and that's opened up the inside. Now, LSU, basically, they're more than some of these other teams. They are a get back to the rim, protect the rim, rebound the ball defensive team. Mm-hmm. But they're going to have to come out some on the perimeter, I think. If they don't, Alabama's going to have to knock down those shots because they should get some open shots.
That's where Alex Reese really comes into play with his ability to stretch the floor. But I think his mindset tonight is in play as much as anything, because you talked about it. We've talked about it this week. I think the mindset of LSU when it looks at Alabama is we're going to get downhill on these guys and we're physically going to handle them in every aspect of the game. That's what I think. That's what I think LSU thinks when it looks at Alabama, Cecil.
It's almost like, it's almost like watching a UFC card where every match is a welterweight against a light heavy. Just look at their guys. They're 210, muscled up. I mean, not stiff muscled, but thick, strong guys, made and smart, both in the backcourt. Probably got a good 30 pounds each on Kyra and Petty, I would guess. And that's what they want to take advantage of.
Well, we hope you take advantage of your culinary options down there today.
Yeah, I'll be 30 pounds heavier than all of them by the time I get there. Rest assured.
You could help Herb out with that and that matchup with Watford. Maybe
I could bring Herb down, and about a month, he'd be looking more like Christian Barmore than Herb Jones.
Well, Cecil, be safe down there. Have a good time. Enjoy the game tonight. We look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Thank you, and everybody remember, no lead is safe one way or the other. That's
the great thing about tonight. Even if LSU gets out to a lead, they're gracious hosts when it comes to letting teams back in. So
and it's just like I say, Ole Miss. Ole Miss got out to a big lead. And Auburn's better than Ole Miss. And so it was just time on the clock. Could you get to 0-0 with that lead? And I thought Ole Miss had a pretty good chance to do that until Tyree fouled out.
Yeah.
And then they just don't have a guy to go to.
Yeah, they went the rest of the regulation.
Game, but I'm talking about a guy who's clock, score. I'm taking, Auburn knows I'm getting it. My team knows I'm getting it, and I'm going to do something with it. And Tyree could do that. And once he fouled out, they didn't have that.
Yeah, no doubt. The final 5-15.
They're up 64-56 when he fouled out.
Yeah, and they don't produce a field goal the rest of regulation.
With a little over 5 minutes to play, and they don't make another basket in regulation. They hit 3 free throws.
Absolutely. All right, Cecil. Enjoy it down there, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
Look forward to it. Thank you.